All right. So this should get her going here. As soon as I see the live button on my screen, I'll say something. But right now, we are live. So right now, we're just in our pre-show. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Troy.
I learned a few little tricks. I have a stack of books over here that I place my laptop on because if it's down, I learned that it looks like I was looking like I was asleep all the time because I was constantly looking down at my laptop. So then raise the camera up and suddenly my eyes are open. It looks like I'm awake.
By the way, we are live on the Facebook page. So,
Yep.
with what, 5 minutes to go?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We always like to get ahead of ourselves in case there are any technical errors. We like to do a little bit of a pre-show for about 5, 6 minutes to iron out any kinks and problems that you have with technology. There are about 15 steps to go through for this. So, and it works. So, fingers crossed, everything's good.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so yesterday, thanks to you, by the way, Michelle Vidmar at the Animal Rescue of Rhode Island was able to
Yeah.
host a Zoom meeting as a fundraiser, and I gave my talk on how pets communicate from the afterlife.
Oh,
So
that's so awesome.
it went really well, and I think there were 12, there were 16 people that signed up. There were 12 people that were on, and the most, I think the most helpful thing was that everybody could see everybody's face for the most part, except for the people that didn't use the camera, which there was about four. But
Yeah.
it was really great because whenever somebody could relate to something that I was talking about, they would be nodding, and then I would call on them, or they would, I asked people to put their hand up, or and I would call on them. So for in this instance, because we don't have that, what we do have is we have a way for people to comment. So whoever is already watching now, you can type comments or questions, um, and we will address them. So actually, Christina Rose Hendricks is in there.
Oh,
So
good.
hello,
Good, good, good.
Christina.
Photos, videos, posts. Let's see here. There we go. Now I see us. I'm gonna turn this down. I have an iPad up on the side just so I can see comments and questions and all that good stuff. There we go. Yeah, there's Christina Hendricks. A couple other people on too. But yeah, I've had interesting. This is the first time we've done this, so this is going to be a very interesting experience as usual with you when we get together. Interesting things seem to happen.
Yeah, it's always good though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So the
Yeah.
Inspired Ghost Tracking group is having a talk on Friday. I think it's about using uh, divination, divination equipment, and
Hmm.
that's Friday
That
on this
sounds good.
page. I think is it at 7:30? I don't remember what time it is.
I don't either because I wasn't sure I was going to be around because of the weekend, and I go to West Virginia up into the mountains and do my. It's like a Japanese forest bath where you just walk through the forest and it's cleansing. We should talk about that today a little bit, like when we're talking about peace and healing.
That
Uh,
sounds very appropriate.
yeah, doesn't it? And then
Yeah.
I can talk about those singing bowls that I was telling you about a second ago and what those are. And you probably know more about chakras and energy centers than I do.
No, I
I
don't think so.
Oh, really? You haven't? Yeah, I'm surprised. I would think you would check into that because of just the vibrational energy and electrical centers of the body and all that good stuff. So I
Yeah.
need your scientific side on that.
I only know the coffee chakra. That's all I know.
I'm going to just guess where that is, but I'm
Yeah.
just. So we got like 2 minutes. So we're still pre-show, by the way, pre-show. One of these days, we'll get really good at this and have a little sign or lower thirds that say, 2 minutes and counting until the show starts.
Yeah, we're not there yet though, but oh, I found the time for Friday's talk on this very page that you're watching. It's 7 p.m. Friday, and it's
Okay.
called "The Use of Divination Tools um, and the use of ritual in investigating. And Keith Miller is actually the speaker. So
Um,
you can come to this page on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern
I'm looking
Time.
forward. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
that's going to be really, really cool. And we should talk about that too, because you've had experience with what are they called? They're called not dowsing rods, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, they're called dowsing rods.
And
So
I,
I don't know if
yeah.
this works right. I had it backwards, but it's showtime.
Oh, you know what? It's backwards.
It's backwards to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Can
it's
you
not.
write backwards? Are you one of those people?
I can write backwards.
You cannot. Even
It,
your letters?
yeah, I wrote that backwards actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked backwards to me. All right. All right.
Well, I think
All
backwards sometimes.
right. Well, it is 2 o'clock.
It's
So Rob, let's get started so that when people get going, they can come in and watch us at any time and take it away. I'll be here. We'll explain what the show is and what your idea is, and we'll go from there.
Sounds great.
All right.
So we kind of came up with this idea because of um, all of the unrest that's happening in our country between not only coping with the pandemic, but also the inequality and the social unrest that's happening.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are really stressed out. And I've actually spoken to quite a number of friends who said, they really don't know how to say anything. And so they keep things inside at this time because they're afraid if they say one thing, somebody would take it wrong. If they say something else, somebody else would take it wrong. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's happened to me
Yep.
because as someone who is a medium and someone who's
Mhm.
spiritual, I like to think that I embrace everybody. I love everybody. I love some
Yeah.
others, some more than others, but
Right.
but still.
Especially,
Um, so it's been really hard and very stressful for people, especially being shut
yeah,
into their house and unable to communicate. Um,
that's right.
I think the senior citizens, I think, are probably the ones that really feel it the most because they're not technologically savvy,
Hmm.
although they can call people on the phone. They can't do these kinds of events. So today we're going to talk about healing from spirit. And if you've recently lost loved ones or people or
Yeah.
pets, we'll address that too.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
uh, uh, so Troy said he's going to talk about his some meditation, your singing bowls
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
your singing bowls today, and he's going to open with a nice prayer of meditation and peace.
I think
So
that sounds
Troy,
great, Rob, and
what
I'm
else do you want to
excited to
cover?
do this. What's that?
What else do you want to cover today?
I think as we go, there'll be some stories that come up um, about times we found where we really needed to find our center and peace, and how hard that is to do. Sometimes you just can't get the chatter or the nervous anxiety or whatever. No matter what you do, it seems like you just can't make it go away. And I've had those times many times too, like we all do. And you try every meditation technique, you try every prayer, you try every energy chakra, you try everything, and you still are just feeling all of that anxiety. And in every case of that, for people who are experiencing that, sometimes there are underlying conditions that lead to that, which can require some medication for people, depending on whatever. And I have such a respect for people who, when they need to seek out therapy or medications to try to regulate something else that's going on in their lives, I have such profound respect for that because it means you're taking care of it yourself. You're looking at yourself, you're working on yourself, and you're not using everyone else to take care of you in those cases. And some people do that, and they don't mean to be emotional vampires, but they are. And it's not intentional in most cases. It's people just really calling out for help and needing help, and we're all willing to really give that, but it can sometimes be draining in those cases. On the flip side of that, I've caught myself in that situation where I'm just like, I just seem to need good energy and good energy and good energy, and for some reason I don't feel like I'm getting it, and it's because I'm looking for it externally. All in those instances for a period of time, it's like I'm trying to have somebody else make me feel good or some other situation make me feel good. And often, if that isn't working for you anymore, because it does, you get around the right people, get in the right area, those things can work. But when they don't, you have to change. You have to change what you're doing, and that's when you have to really go inside, and you really have to look for that balance. I think that's where spirit is calling for us to look for that energy center inside us, and make that confident, make that stable, and make that connected back to spirit. And when that happens, everything else seems to get better, and you're able to connect with other people again. You're able to go into the woods and feel really good about things. There's just so much to talk about in this area.
Yeah, you bring up a good point though about looking for outside stimulation, because that's what actually people who have depression actually do also. People who are depressed usually try to be they're usually attracted to people who are not depressed, and they
Yeah,
think that it will help them not be depressed. So they're looking for outside stimulation as well. So it's a natural thing to do. But
it sure
we
is.
really do have to find the inner peace first before we can move on.
You really do, and that's a good grounding thing, which takes us right to what you asked me to do at the beginning of this. Is instead of just writing off and taking off and talking about all these really sensitive topics in spirit, it's good to ground yourself in whatever way works for you. Some people start out some of our investigations, or they before they go into the woods or they go somewhere that's a peaceful place, they often take just a few moments and just call on the energy and spirit that you resonate with, that works for you. And then you just make sure that you're in the right place as best you can,
Mhm.
and then go into those environments and then go into those discussions. It's just a shame you know when you just even it's funny how we do things in the physical world that make sense to us intuitively, that we get ready for things that we do. And, in spirit, people often don't do that. So, for instance, something as simple as going to the grocery store. You don't just walk out the door and go to the grocery store. You have to make sure you you have a shirt on. You have to make sure that you have your wallet, you have your
Mask,
glasses so you can see, your mask, the
right?
sanitizer. You have your grocery list if you need that, and take a few of your own bags with you. And you have to think about keys getting back into the house. It's really the same, as simple as that is. We do that often without thinking.
Hmm.
And if you don't do that, you go to the grocery store just willy-nilly and you haven't prepared at all. You get there and you have to leave your groceries there because you forgot your wallet, or whatever it is, and you have to go home. Same in spirit. I mean, if you just waltz into a situation that you're unfamiliar with, or into a group of people, even good or bad, then you haven't grounded yourself. You don't know what you're opening yourself up for. You could really walk into something that you're not really prepared for, will catch you by total shock. So I just urge everyone, before you do anything, before you get out of bed in the morning, it's a good idea just to connect in spirit and ground before. Um, Often, and I heard this from a lady before, and she said that she never lets her feet hit the ground before she said a prayer or meditated or something to get the day started. And it sounds kind of over the top, but I really thought about that and whether it resonates with me. And I do this every day, believe it or not. It's one of my disciplines I actually do. Is as soon as my eyes open and I'm starting to think, I try to get ahead of my brain turning back on with all of the thoughts of the day, by having a little quick prayer. Just walking into light. I receive light. I receive grounding. I ask spirit to and God to just make me ready for the day, and ready for the first thought that comes into my head for the work day. Otherwise, I'll wake up and start thinking about work, and I'll be there for 15 minutes laying in bed, getting full of anxiety because all the stuff that didn't get done yesterday I got to do today, and I'm getting out of bed in a full huff, and the day starts with that negative energy.
Hmm.
If you get ahead of that, you can transform your day from start to finish, just with that simple habit. That's one trick I do, and it's changed. People say things are life changing, and it's just kind of cliche, but that was life changing. I started that about 3 years ago, and before I go to bed, I do the same thing. When I'm in bed, it's real simple, it's real quick. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out incantation or whatever people think. It can just be very simple, and that's what we'll do right now
So
as we go into this conversation.
there are a couple of things that I'd like to offer too, that
Hmm.
for people to find peace before they go to bed. Um, One of them is to talk to people in spirit on the other side, or pets in spirit. I
Oh
know
yeah.
I recommend that because I do that every night. So our, we have an upstairs bathroom, which is what I use where I shower, and on the wall are pictures of our three dogs that have passed, and my parents and Tom's late partner Ed. So I say goodnight to all of them, and I
Nice.
ask them for protection and guidance for the next day, and keeping our other canine kids safe. And it's always, it's really a good feeling to do that. So that really helps. I also try to read something light before I go to bed.
Mm,
I'm a big superhero fan, by the way, so I always read one comic book, and then I read part of a novel or whatever that I'm reading. Something to keep your mind off what happened during the day.
that's
Um,
right.
two other quick things. One,
Hmm.
after you do your prayer, I'd like to walk people through a short meditation so they
Okay.
can kind of try and get in touch with their spirit guide. It was something that I learned from Nancy Turner from Inspired Ghost Tracking,
She's
um,
great. Yeah.
who did this. She's amazing. Um, and the other thing I want to mention is in the chat room there, Christina Rose Hendricks said a couple of things. She said that she goes to the creek. It's a feel good feeling, and I feel that I put more positive in me when I think about all positive things. She
Hmm.
said she's even brought creek water with her and did an EVP session, and she got a clear EVP. I wonder if that's from the water.
Oh, that's interesting. I love that idea. And Diane just jumped on. Hey, Diane. She's a medium rare. But I love that idea about, and I have to write a note. I'm taking notes. When you see me look down, I'm taking notes of something else I want to talk about that
Yeah.
and I have a great story about, it sounds crazy, but people hug trees. Well, I love to hug a tree or talk to a tree once in a while, but I also connect with natural elements. And through a Native American elder experience once, I learned how to introduce myself to a river and bodies of water. And ever since that day, I now connect to water and streams and oceans and rivers in a very interesting way that I'd love to describe because I would have thought that was just insane. Had I seen somebody talking to a river or a tree or a rock, I'm like, okay, a little lost it there. But wow, in my experience, the people who are good at this and who've really done this sincerely, it's phenomenal what happens. And what I think you were alluding to a while ago, spirit is all around us. And in my world, this is just Troy Cline's view. I'm learning more and more in my spirit and through some of the Native American studies and connections I did that everything is everything has vibration. And in Native American beliefs, Navajo, Cherokee, and the people I hung out with for a while in some of my past experiences, everything is alive, even rocks and water, and everything has energy and has a form of life to it. That's what they believe.
Mhm.
And when I opened myself up to that kind of thinking, suddenly the forests and the rivers and the sky and the elements, I could feel the life all around me, and even for people who've ever even looked and perused through the Bible and tried not to misinterpret all those thousands of scriptures, there's a place that says that God is all around us. It's in us, around us. He's everywhere. He, she, spirit is everywhere. And Native Americans believe that very much so. And in other world religions, there are elements of some of those religions that are really powerful because they all started from somewhere. They all started with some really good, well-meaning people, and then of course people run off into the sunset and do terrible things with knowledge that they don't understand. But when you get right back down to the elements, energy and spirit and love and light, it is in us, around us, above us. The Native Americans have that I worked with, have like there's seven directions. And I always thought, okay, and they talk about the north, the south, the east, and the west, and they talk about and they pray and meditate towards each one of those directions. But then they also meditate and pray up towards the direction up and the direction down to the earth and direction up to the sky.
Mhm.
And they receive all of the energy and gifting that comes from there. And that's only six directions: north, south, east, west, up, and down. And the seventh direction is inside. Isn't that amazing?
That is
And
pretty
then
cool.
you go inside and then you center yourself and then you're able to connect. Even talking about that, I get chills because I've we've experienced the power of of that kind of thinking, which is just really, really awesome. Well, how about we'll go into a quick meditation, Rob, and we'll keep on talking.
Okay.
And taking questions. I'm trying to monitor the chat room as well. And I really love it with people asking, making comments and asking questions. And what we'll do after the session's over is this, of course, will be up for a long, long time. And any of you that are watching this can come back in and still chat in the IGT room under this video, and we'll keep checking and responding and go from there. Are we good?
Sure.
All right. All right. So I don't know how I'm going to do this yet. We'll let it come as it goes, and I'll just do what I'm going to do. And I just feel it's really important for me to connect and you to connect for a little bit, Rob, so we can really open up our gifts and try to unblock any thinking we brought into this or anything that's distracting that might keep us from really connecting in spirit, especially if that comes up and somebody is asking for help or has a question about a loved one or something like that. All right. All right. So here we go. So right now I open up my intent. I open up my thinking and my thought. And with Rob, we open up our space where he is at his house and where I am, and online with each other, and all those watching and listening, whether it's the recorded show later, wherever you are right now listening to this through the rest of the week or whatever day it is, or if you're listening to it live right now. I just call on God and light and power and spirit and energy to just saturate our environments where we are. I just open my heart, my mind, and my thinking to go flow with the right energy, the right vibration, to be able to pull in the gifts that I have, that you at home can pull in the gifts that you have, that Rob can pull in the gifts that he has, and that we can just flow with the right conversation and the right thoughts. If there are any relatives, anybody that we need to connect to while we're online today, I open myself to that safely, only to the positive and good light elements, nothing of darkness and all of that. And any type of negative energy from anyone out there that would try to hinder anybody listening or us from connecting properly or being healthy and strong, I arrest that. I speak that just is solid and stopped. I speak against it and ask for the people who might do that, that light would just not only stop them from that, but help them and transform their lives into something good and of light. I open my heart to wisdom, understanding, open myself to all the 7 directions, from the north and the south and east and the west and the up and the down, the earth and the sky, and all of the elements that are part of this universe, both physical and spiritual. And I call from the core of who I am right now to connect in that energy. And I just open up this space with Rob and our intent to make this a safe space that people can, when they listen to this, that they're going to feel just a sense of peace and a sense of calm, no matter when they listen to this, if it's visually or auditory, however they're getting this message, that they just suddenly right now are feeling a wonderful sense of river-like calm and flow and energy that permeates this universe in every direction. And with that, I open my eyes and like I'm in a good spot. I felt that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. You never know.
Very calming.
Yeah, it is.
So for the folks that are watching and who may not have watched any of these before, so Troy and I are both mediums on the Inspired Ghost Tracking team. And the Inspired Ghost Tracking team, thanks to Margaret Ehrlich, she founded the team about 10 years ago.
Yep.
And she wanted to bring people together who had a curiosity of the paranormal. And we've gone a little beyond the paranormal. We've gone to the point of spreading good energy as well.
That's right.
And Troy, we are really gifted to have you on the team, Troy, because
thank you.
You bring about a certain spirituality that nobody else on the team has.
Now that touches me.
And you've also been responsible for crossing the most ghosts over. So
isn't that something? I mean, I didn't start doing that until I met you guys and you taught me and we walked through some of this, and that suddenly became a really amazing gifting, that something that I do now. And thank you. I had no idea.
So yeah, it is true. So
Uh,
for the folks watching, so earthbound ghosts are earthbound entities who decide to stay earthbound. Spirits are the ones that cross over, and most of the people that are connected to you out there are spirits. They all cross over, and then they come back and they watch over us. So in times like
mm,
this, when you're looking for that calm, when you're looking for that peace, reach out to them. Whether
yeah,
it be your grandmother that used to bake cookies for you when you were a kid, um, or a friend maybe that passed away, who can relate to relate to you at this age, or even somebody you lost in childhood. They're still around you, and
they
that
are.
means pets too.
Mhm.
So you can find a peace not only inside, but you can find a peace outside and around you. And getting back to crossing over, just for just a moment, um,
Uh-huh.
go, ghosts are earthbound, and after a while, after they stay earthbound, they realize that they can't find peace, like us in this current situation with the pandemic.
Yeah.
So they decide that well, not decide, but they realize that they need to find peace, and the only way to do that is to cross over. So Troy and I have worked together on a number of occasions with other members of IGT to
Hmm.
help them cross over and become a spirit and find that
Yeah.
peace. Um, and and we've written about, well, I've written about a lot of the cases in the Inspired Ghost Tracking book. But we need to find that peace now. And this life here is a gift, and we have to understand that every day is a gift. You just have to look for the small blessings.
You really do. And it's interesting, the lessons I've learned from ghost and spirit energies that we've encountered. It's like it really was ground zero when we started working with ghosts to cross them over into spirit. Um, we learned so much from them as we were doing this, because you can listen and you can feel when you're doing that. You can feel what they feel. You often get their emotions, their energies, the physical feelings they had in life, things like that. And they often kind of give you clues on what it is you need to connect to help them cross over. And there's something about, people have asked me the question, well, if a ghost needs to cross over, why do they need you to do that? Why can't they just do that themselves? And I think that's a really good question. I have my own uh, thoughts for that. Uh, it just is that way. It seems like there are ghosts, for some reason, they need a little bit of push. They need a little help. Like we're talking today about helping each other in the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
That when we have anxiety and fears, and sometimes you need to talk to a friend, or you need to get some energy or some direction from a friend of yours, and they can just say one or two things, and boom, you get past whatever that obstacle was, and it helps move it out of the way. I often feel that way, that because we're physical right now, in this experience of life, that ghost and energy, or ghost spirit, energy especially, often needs to bridge the gap, and they're remembering their lives in the physical realm. They're often grieving the loss of their lives in the physical realm, and they're stuck because they're trying to still be in the physical realm. That's why they're ghosts instead of crossing over. They really wish they still were here, physically. And I think there's some of that grieving that goes on about the loss of their own life, that and their friends, that keeps them stuck. And until you, as a physical being, can talk with them, um, and give them some ideas and thoughts, and remind them, just assure them, like I would you, if you were struggling through something really awful right now. I would tell you the positive things and the right things, and help you face the truth of your moment. And then once I get that trust with you, you're more apt to listen to me and do things and take steps you wouldn't have ordinarily done on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same way with ghosts often. They need that extra step. And for some reason, it's not like, a good question I have for you, Rob, I've never thought about this, is, in your experience, unless ghosts are in an experience together, they died with someone, or whatever, I'm not sure that they're really, ghosts aren't like in some network to where they're connecting and talking to each other. It's almost like they're alone.
Yeah, that's the way I've always felt, is that they don't
Yeah.
interact.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's relative to today being in the pandemic with everybody that we're
Isn't it?
talking to today, is that the interaction right now is extremely limited. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everybody needs that interaction. So, pick up the phone. um, t-
Yeah.
Text somebody, even if it's just a hello, because we need that connectivity as people in order to heal. Isolation doesn't heal. I mean,
Hmm.
when you think about it, people who commit heinous crimes and go to prison, they're put in isolation wards,
Yeah.
right? So isolation drives people crazy.
That
Um,
does.
so to the folks that are listening, if you want to heal, make sure that you're interacting with somebody on some level. Um, find peace inside and find peace outside by communicating.
That's right.
Even if you just write a card out to somebody, write a card, put it in the mail. That card is going to make somebody's day.
Yeah.
So why not? I mean, you're sitting home, right?
Well, it also releases energy inside of you that you need, like when you're the giver and you do something like people call it paying it forward kind of thing. There is a release of positive energy that happens to me when I do something that I don't tell anybody else I'm doing. I do it anonymously often because I really want the energy. I want the intent for why I'm giving to someone, whether it's a compliment, whether it's a gift that they don't know where it came from, whether I'm paying for someone. A couple times, uh, I tried it out. I was going across the Bay Bridge, and you know how you pay for that $2 or $3 toll or whatever.
Yeah.
I just got there and I gave the person at the counter. I said, "Hey, here's an extra fare. I want to pay for the person behind me." They're like, "Who is it?" I'm like, "I don't know. Just pay for it. Whoever the next person is, it doesn't have auto pass.
People have
Pay
done
for it."
that for me at Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, and I've done that too
Oh, that's
for,
cool.
for people behind, and they're like,
Really?
and they try to figure out who you are, which is kind
Yeah.
of funny
Yeah, it is. It
because you
is.
don't know them.
I
But
know,
it,
right?
yeah, but it's a feel-good thing. By the way, Diane commented in the chat,
Yeah.
getting back to the crossing over. She says, when you cross ghosts over, it is the most incredible feeling inside. So it's a rush. She said, I felt sparkly, and I have never
Yeah.
experienced that before.
No, you really do. And it's because it's that giving feeling. I think spirit, when you do things for someone else without asking anything in return from them or even desiring anything in return from them, your reward comes from spirit when you do it that way, which is so much greater. And if you get your kudos and all of the stuff that you need because you're helping someone and they say how wonderful you are and they give you all these strokes and all that how great, then that's your reward and you get what you're asked for. But if you don't expect that and you're not even looking for that, and you're like, I'm helping you and I'm giving to you, I'm giving to this ghost, I'm helping this ghost cross over into spirit because I want them to have a better existence. I want sincerely to see their life better, their path better. And that's where I go with that. I'm not expecting them to come back and give me like $1 million out of the lotto next week or whatever it is, which never happens, by the way. Um, then I do in those moments where you feel that sparkly, wonderful, warm feeling or that rush of warm air that goes through a room when this happens. It's almost like a thank you from spirit. You're
Mhm.
doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're connecting in the right way, and you grow in your own spiritual energy and giftings each time you do something like that without expectation from someone else.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you to use your bowls so
Oh yeah.
that people can close their eyes and tune into
Okay.
the sound. And um, and for anybody that's watching right now in the chat, if you're facing anything, any
Let me go
obstacles
grab
right
them while
now,
you're talking. I'll be right back.
okay. Troy's gonna go get his bowls. If you're facing any obstacles right now in your life, if you're stressed, feel free. If you're comfortable, feel free to share. What you would like to work through, and we will try and meditate on that. Um, the sound that you'll hear, um, the sounds that you'll hear from Troy's bowls there, will really make you feel a kind of peace. And after we do that, what I would like to do is I would like to walk you all through a meditation. I mentioned it earlier that Nancy Turner from the Inspired Ghost Tracking team walked everybody through a meditation where she had people picture they were going through a certain environment. And I would like to do that. It takes about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. but if you just sit there with the audio and listen and just visualize in your mind, same as what you'll do with the bowls here, as Troy talks you through it, I think that will bring you some peace. And in this crazy world, if you can get 5 minutes peace, I think you're doing something. So do this
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
So Troy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. Let me, so this is something that's new for me. And I told Rob a little bit about it, and I had friends of mine going through a real grieving process. It's probably, oh, maybe, I think it's been maybe a couple months ago. And then before that, I just suddenly I just started thinking one day about these metal Tibetan style singing bowls that I've seen in people's houses, and you'll see them around, and they have usually a little mallet or a gong that goes with them, and I've seen them. I'm like, what is that? And they usually can't tell me any more than I found this when I was on vacation, and it was beautiful, and apparently you can use it for meditation. And sometimes we bang them a little bit and make a tone in the house, and like, okay, that to me, I was just like, how in the world does that do anything? It's pretty, go get chimes or whatever. But then, and I never really opened myself up to understand it. And so I'm learning about it now more and more and more. But something in my spirit said, okay, it's time for you to check this out. And I'm like, a singing bowl? And spirit is like, yeah, just open yourself up, talk to people about them, learn more about it. And I had for many, many years, especially after leaving the Navajo reservation where I lived for about 5 years, many years ago, a friend of mine was into meditation of all sorts. And that's where I was listening. She played music and beautiful, peaceful music in her house all the time. And there was a certain tone, a certain song. It was just kind of new age-ish, nice tonal music playing in the background. And I noticed after a while that there was a particular song that came on that it felt in my spirit would take a deep breath. I felt good. It made me feel better. And it was just odd. And I thought, well, I wonder what that music is anyway. I've been listening to it for probably a year off and on whenever she played it. And so I just went over and I said, what is that music? She said, oh, it's from a CD called Stephen Halperin Spectrum Suite is the name of it. And it's from way back it was back in the 80s and 90s when this guy was making this music, maybe earlier. And he would use tones that resonated with energy centers in people's bodies. So when I looked at the CD, you would see this person sitting in a yoga pose with all the different color rainbow chakra things going down through their center. And I thought, okay, I've seen that before. And I'm like, not sure I connect to that. And so I was like, but the only reason I was looking at this CD was because that song called to me after a year of listening. And I thought, why is it? So I'm like, chakras, I didn't know anything about that. I'm like, what is that? So it's like, there are all these different energy elements that people for thousands of years have paid attention to that have different feelings of love and energy and peace and spirit and guidance. And you try to go through and make sure that your inner energy is aligned. And when people use words like me aligning my energy with spirit, that language makes sense to me, because often if I'm feeling out of sorts, unbalanced, I don't know what's wrong with me, I realize my spirit, the battle between my spirit and physical energies are off balance. I feel bad because in spirit, I'm also feeling bad, or something's off. So I basically just stop and I'll ground myself. I'll do a quick meditation, and I'll do that several times in a day until it works, or I'm able to get some peace until that happens. Sometimes your energy can be so off and unbalanced from just circumstances that it takes a little work to get it back in line. And what I found out, it wasn't that I did anything wrong or I was doing anything bad in my day to cause my energy to be off balance, or that, we're like batteries and you run low on energy sometimes. It was more, and this is something I think we really need to pay attention to in today's climate, especially in political climate and the world. Often you are exposed to energies that aren't your own, that are very bad, that are very negative, and they can make your spirit sick. And then when your spirit is feeling ill, your body's going to start feeling ill, and it just spirals in a downhill spiral until you start working on it and paying attention to what the sickness is.
If I could just jump in for a second, that's like working or associating with negative people in your family.
Yes.
They really are energy vampires. They take you down, and you need to distance yourself from them. That will help promote healing from within.
And allow yourself to do it. Sometimes people feel guilty if it's a family member that they love, but they're an emotional vampire at the same time. People feel there's almost like a codependency. It's like, well, I want them to be better, and if I'm helping them because they're trying to rely on me, then maybe I can. That's true. Sometimes you really can help people just by being around them, but if it stays that way, and you're always the giver and they're always the receiver, you have to really look at that, because at a point it's going to drain your energy to a point where you're no good to them anymore either, and you're both in a bad situation. That's just the way negative energy works. So the best thing you can do with a family member, in my experience, that's doing that, or a close friend that's like not meaning to be an emotional vampire, but they are, and a spiritual vampire. I do see it. I love using the word vampire because it really is that. It really is that toxic to me. And I feel it's okay for me to say that. It's not anything against the person. I mean, they don't want to feel that way, but the way they're feeling. And I do want to help them, but I can't help them by giving them all of my energy and being sick myself. It's like drinking the poison to make your energy suffer. You just can't do that and be of any earthly good to anybody.
True.
So I basically, I distance myself too, Rob, and sometimes I've taken inventory. And it doesn't mean that I never speak to that person again. But sometimes you really do have to back off, detach your energy from that person for a little while, for a period of time, to get your center back so that you can be of help. There was an exercise that I learned. It was in college, and I didn't know why I was feeling all this anxiety that was more than my ordinary daily life. I would be in certain situations, classrooms or environments on campus, or in church when my dad was a minister, and I would just be wiped out just emotionally. And I never understood that early on because I didn't have training for what was happening to me. And because I'm empathic, and I can sense and feel energy and people's emotional energy, I connect to the energies in the room around me, ghost or living. I didn't realize how strong that was and how bad that could be if you're not trained in how to manage it. So what would happen is I would go into a room and I'd walk through even the grocery store, or you're in a classroom, or you're at work.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a negative energy there, you're being exposed to that toxicity that entire time without even knowing it. And then you bring that with you. It's almost like it's like a spiritual virus. You carry it back with you back to your house. And then the next day you're still feeling bad. But you're like, there's nothing wrong in my life. I don't understand what's happening. So what I started doing is, when I'm feeling that kind of anxiety, and for this particular show, this is a really good thing to do, is if you can't really put your finger on why you feel the way you feel, and you're just drained and sad, or you're just not feeling connected and you don't know why. Sometimes it can be something physical. Sometimes it can just be one of those things. But often, if I meditate not only about healing for myself and energy, but if I say in spirit, I'm like, God, spirit, would you sever? I picture a silver thread that goes from me to everybody around me, or anywhere that's anybody's connecting to my energy. And I mentally picture those silver threads being severed or snapped or broken, and then let that thread come back to me. And as I do that, even talking about it right now, I feel that breath inside of me, because you don't even know how connected you are in spirit to people and in that level, and it will drain you constantly, and you don't know what's wrong with you, and you suffer for it. So if you're aware of it and you allow yourself the space to break that down and pull in the energy and rebuild your battery and realign yourself, then you can go out and start connecting to people in spirit from a much better, helpful, powerful place. And you'll start seeing change in their lives. Sometimes it's just, if you're in that space and you've done this kind of stuff, and you walk in and you're full of that positive energy and your battery's charged, and you walk into a negative environment, you then can be effective without even saying a word to the people in that room. They will suddenly start feeling better for some reason. They don't even know why. Or their energy was bad, but you walked in and boom, they're feeling better. And it's not because you're magic or any of these things, or it's even about you. It's that the energy that you are made of is aligned. But if you walk in there carrying the weight of the world, and you haven't protected yourself from energies around you, and you're just full of the negative energy from everybody you've walked around that day, and then you waltz into a room, you're going to actually start affecting negatively other people without even trying or knowing you're doing it.
So
that's
a
very important.
couple of things people can do. They can use music to lighten the mood. They can make sure that there's more light in their house
Yes,
to
yes, yes.
to lighten the mood. And as Troy gets ready to play his bowls there,
Yeah,
you just give
I
you a
hope they
couple
can
more
hear it.
tips. um, when you look at yourself in the mirror to like fix your hair or shave or do whatever you're going to do in the morning, smile just once.
Yeah,
Smile.
yeah.
Because you'd be surprised what a change you will make for the beginning of your day. I've done that a couple of times and I'm thinking, that's really stupid. And then I think, it, you want somebody to smile at you. And if you live alone, smile at yourself. I know it sounds foolish, but
Yeah,
that's human nature. That's how we perceive things. So look for the
that's a good
positive.
point.
Margaret likes to say, eat chocolate. It makes her feel
Yeah,
better. It makes everybody
it
feel better.
does.
And we do that after every paranormal
We
investigation.
do. I look forward to it. I love chocolate anyway, so
Yeah, to dispel the negative energy. So,
that's so true.
Sir Troy, are you ready to have
Uh-huh.
everybody close their eyes
Yeah.
and play some
So,
bowls?
well, it's because I have this background happening, so you don't see my messy living room. I have this beautiful IGT background behind me. Which is artificial. It sometimes cuts things out. But right now, if I hold it in front of me, this is basically just a quartz crystal bowl that was created. And then you take a small, it's a mallet. And I don't, can you hear that?
Hmm.
Can you hear it well?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you can do it that way, but it comes with a little ring, and these are just an O-ring that I'll lay on the table. I'll lay the bowl on top of that. And I have three bowls right now. And one of them resonates to the note of G, which is this one. And then the second bowl that I have looks just like it out over to the right. Can you hear that one?
Yes.
It plays, it's the note of B. And then B is the uppermost spirit. It connects with the spirit chakra. And then G, I think G might be it might be the throat chakra. And then C is, I believe, the solar plexus, your heart. And this huge bowl, this one's like twice the size of the other ones. It's quartz crystal as well. And you can get these made out of metal or whatever, just so they resonate. You can, if you want, you can just basically, smack the mallet right on top of it, like I'm going to do right now. Or you can also learn how to play the bowl. And this is the part I didn't know. So friends of mine would just hit the bowl and you hear this nice tone, like a gong or doorbell. But if you take the mallet, strike the bowl, and then run the mallet lightly around the rim of the bowl, it will sing. So here's what that sounds like. Is that loud?
It's not loud, but you can hear it.
I'm so glad you can. You know what I might do is I'm wearing an earpiece right now. What I'm going to do is turn off my earpiece and use the computer mic. So my voice probably sounds a little differently now.
It does.
So I'm going to try it again. Tell me if you can hear it better. Is that better? All right, so now. And then I just listen to the tone, I let it play for a little bit, and then I just let that resonate in my body with a vibrational frequency. And if anything, it's a beautiful sound. If that's all you get out of it, that's great. And other times, I really feel like a breath of air coming through me. So that's the key of G. And here, I'll play the one over to the right of it. You just lightly do that. Isn't that beautiful? So what's really cool, and then I'll play the one that's the giant one, which is C. That one just, if you're in the house and you're playing that, it is so loud. It's like beautiful. Now you can play those individually or play them together. And what I did is I have two mallets and two bowls, and this took a little bit of practice. But I will play the B and G together, and it's a harmonic. They play beautifully together. And so we'll.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is really
So here's what I do.
with these is, and I'm learning, and people are much better at this than I am. But for me, for what I need, why I was called with these bowls is, there are certain energies that in the house, I make my house a safe space. I do that through prayer and meditation. I sometimes use oils. I use, you can use,
You need to talk louder.
and they will do that, and they'll use those to make things better for themselves and their house. I like to make my house a protected space, a safe sanctuary. But the only energy that's allowed in my house is just spirit energy, good energy, energy from God, from light. Anything that's negative, that may be from it could be a ghost that tracked with you. You walk through a place. We had a guy that was talking to us who he had a problem because he lived near a battlefield, and he had been taking walks through the battlefield, which is beautiful, and you can do that. But he's also a spirit. Can you hear me now? Thanks. He would also walk through these battlefields and not be aware that he was picking up negative energy and ghost energy from bad experiences that were still existing there. So this is somebody that should have gone home, disconnected, severed himself from all those connections, picked his spirit back up, and then maybe done singing bowls or played music in the house or brought light into the house or ate chocolate, whatever it is that works. So with this one, I'm going to play the singing bowls. I'll do all three, but I'll focus on the B and the G. And you can look those up. Just look it online, chakras and notes that reverberate with each chakra center. And if it helps, it's good. And if it works for you, you can get them. I got mine on Amazon. I just looked it up and boom, that's where it was. And I'm probably going to get more. I just need more room in my house to go with these beautiful bowls out. So here we go. I wish you could be here right now in the house and hear that the way I do. It is really cleansing. It's amazing. So anyway, I'm exploring that, Robin. One of the things that I'm doing, let me change my sound setting real quick. I want to tell you something I've just also been doing that's been really helpful with this.
That was really cool. Are you able to put your Bluetooth back in there?
Am I what?
There you go. Now we can hear you better.
Yeah, now you can hear me better.
Yes.
Yeah, so I play those, and my intent wasn't to play them in the house, and because the neighbors and the cats, and they're like, "What the heck is that? Sounds like a UFO landing in the house." But my intent was to take them out into the woods and into the forest, and play these tones amongst the trees and the rocks and the water, and I did that once so far. These are new, and I took them. It was in West Virginia, and I went way out into the woods, and I played the B chakra for a little while. And I tell you, you could hear it echo just through the trees in the woods, and I just felt like every tree was listening. I really did. It was like really resonating because it's vibrational energy. It's just a tone, and it helps to align you with what's going on around you. And then you realize that even birds they're just tweeting out and making certain tones. And every animal that's out there makes a certain tone at a certain time of day. Crickets have a certain frequency. Even a babbling brook has a certain frequency. And for us to think that those things aren't important, that we haven't evolved on this planet with the effects of the noise, the energy, the tones, and the vibrational sounds having an effect on us, then we're really being ignorant of everything that's around us. And this doesn't solve everything in the world, but it sure does help. I'll put these away as you're talking, and maybe we'll talk about forest baths if you've done that before.
So what I can do is I can start the meditation. We only have 9 minutes left, so I can walk everybody through the meditation. So
that sounds great.
For everybody who's listening right now, what I would like you to do is just close your eyes and think that you are sitting in the sun. It's 75 degrees outside. There are just a few clouds floating by. You hear a bird off in the distance, and you feel a breeze, very light, gentle breeze on you. And as you sit there, all of the tension, all of the trouble that's at the top of your head starts to fall down through your body. It starts to melt. Just think of it as a wax on a candle, melting down to the very bottom of your feet. As the breeze blows through and you feel the sun on your face, all of that tension continues to go all the way down through your body, down to your feet, and then out into the ground, and the ground soaks it up. Now that you've washed all of the tension away, what you're going to do is slowly, in your mind, slowly open your eyes from where you're sitting, and you look up and you see the clouds and the crystal blue sky and the sun to the side, and you hear the birds, and then you turn and there's a forested area, and there's a path. You'll walk down that path, and you'll take note of the smells, the scents of the different plants and the flowers blooming on the forest floor. You can smell the pine trees. You can hear the birds. You can even hear frogs somewhere in the grass of the forest. Continue walking down that path, and you'll see the sun go in and out behind the trees. And you'll walk over a small hill in the forest, and then go down toward a small open area. In that open area, you'll look further out and you'll see some water. You'll see like a pond. So what you want to do is you want to walk forward, and you want to walk over to the edge of the pond. And I want you to stand there when you get to the edge of the pond, and I want you to look around and see if there's anybody around you. Now, there may be a person, or there may be an animal. I want you to think about that. If there's nobody standing there, turn to the forest and call forth and say, "Come out. Come to me." And see who comes out to you. It may be somebody you don't recognize. That person or that animal is actually likely one of your spirit guides. Try and tune into the name of that person or that animal. It could be a pet that you had lost. It could be a person that you've lost, maybe a grandparent, maybe a childhood friend, maybe somebody you, like I said, you've never met. Maybe it's an animal that you've always been attracted to. Know that that is your spirit guide. And whenever you're feeling stressed, you need to sit and imagine being at the edge of a pond with the sun beating down on you with a cool breeze, meeting that spirit guide and asking them for peace. And that will be your peaceful place. Try and get the name of your spirit guide so that it's easier to call them, so that you don't have to walk through the forest to get there. Because your spirit guide is really there with you all the time. All they need to do is be called, and they'll be there for you. So with that, I want you to turn around, wave to your spirit guide, go back up the path, walk through the forest, walk back out, feel the sun on your face now that you're out of the canopy of trees. Sit down and then open your eyes. And if you think about that every day, even if it just took 3 minutes or 4 minutes, you can find your spirit guide or get in touch with them. And that will bring you some sense of peace. So, Troy, what did you think of that?
That was amazing for me. I was like, often when I go through certain meditations, I don't have a lot of expectation because I'm like, well, I can imagine something, and sometimes I struggle with it. But this time, after just a little bit, I saw a lot of things in my experience that were pretty marked. I'm going to look for this weekend. This coming weekend, I'll be in West Virginia, and I'll be in the forest, and I'll be doing some meditation. And I'll describe a little bit of what I saw.
Please.
So it's interesting that the pathway, as I entered the forest to go and follow the pathway, it was different than pathways I've seen before. It was different this time, and this time there were patterns coming down into the path from the trees above me, really distinct patterns. It almost looked like a mosaic of shadow and light on the path in front of me, as if you had a black and white church window, or like a giant that had all those designs in it, and the sun was shining through, and it makes those patterns on the ground. It looked like that the entire pathway, all the way to the pond. The patterns surrounded the pond, and then the two people came out. One was a taller, dark-haired guy that seemed familiar to me. And then there was a female that came out with shorter hair from the woods. But he was sitting there petting, and I was thinking, I don't know who this is. Like, I've never seen this person before, and I didn't know who they were. And I thought, well, maybe it's somebody else's relatives, or who knows. And then you said, that's likely your spirit guide. And I'm like, oh, I know who that is. And his name is Aaron. And I've sensed Aaron around me often. And for several years now, I was able to connect to one of my spirit guides. And people refer to them as energy beings and angels and whatever, but they're really people of spirit and energy that are helpful messengers and helpful to you. And this one has been with me for quite a while. And it sounds nuts and crazy, but as you mentioned, the animal, and I'll have to look up the symbolism of this. On his lap, or laying against him, with just like how a cat will be, was a huge. It had to be a white leopard, but it had just like really beautiful, intricate black spots all through it, like all over.
Wow.
And he was just petting, and it was in the most peaceful state, like this animal that was with him. And I've always known that ravens are a spirit animal for me. They have been forever, and I have a real affinity towards that. But now I have to look around and see what it is about the cat or a leopard that is also perhaps a spirit animal for me.
Interesting.
I've never seen that before, so that was a new one.
So so normally that meditation goes about 20 minutes. So I kind of rushed through it like 4 or 5 minutes. But still, it gives you an idea about what you can achieve. So have you ever seen your spirit guide before? Have you ever seen him?
I've sensed him, but I never got a clear picture of his face. So I did this time.
Now you know he's tall, dark, and handsome.
Tall, dark, and handsome, blue eyes, and the leopard had blue eyes as well.
You get the best.
I have brown, hazel, green eyes, but yeah, and kind of a sense of humor too. Kind of like, of course I know who you are. That kind of thing. It's kind of a funny kind of energy, which totally makes sense to me too. It's almost like a kindred spirit is the way that feels.
Oh, hey, that's a good plug for my book.
Oh my gosh, yeah, hey, how about that?
Kindred spirit. So since we only have 2 minutes left. Oh, and by the way, this is Kindred Spirits, by the way. And
we've been on here for an hour.
Yeah, we've been on here for an hour. Can you believe it? We have 2 minutes left.
It feels like 15 minutes.
So
right.
I just want to say that just a reminder to everybody, if you go to this page at 7 p.m. on Friday, July 3rd, you will hear a speaker about Keith Miller, about the use of divination tools and the use of ritual in the paranormal. So I wanted to thank Margaret for allowing us to do this here. I wanted to thank you, Troy, for the amazing peace that you bring to people.
Thank you.
And I encourage everybody to message us through the IGT page, and we'll be happy to try and bring you some peace in whatever's bothering you in life. So Troy.
That's right. Well,
Any
hey
part-
everybody, it's been a pleasure connecting, and often you never know what's going to happen. If we do this again, Rob, my guess is we'll go into a meditation, and I could feel once in a while I was here in my house, and normally I'm really careful in my house about doing any of these things, that would call in ghost energy. But you can feel people moving up from time to time. And there are often times where if these people are strong enough with it, then we'll go ahead and speak it out and tell you what we're feeling or who we're sensing and what they look like and what their message might be. And it could be for someone out there who is either grieving or needs that word. And that'll be a new thing to try to explore too. So if you're into that, then I'd be happy to join you one of these days and give that a try.
Yeah, maybe we could do some group readings on the Zoom page and invite people to come in and.
Yeah, we could try it out.
Okay, sounds
Yeah,
good.
we do that anyway. Like when we're on our investigations, it's not like we go in and say we're giving readings. It's because I'm just not. I really do appreciate when I see people who can just do that. But for me, it's a situational, environmental thing. It just happens when it happens, and I'm just open to it. So if we're investigating where someone's house and our spirits and our energies connect and relatives come in, or living or dead, I mean, the energy is all the same, and you can really connect. I've watched you connect to people and really give them some wonderful information about someone who passed that just was life-changing, and it blows me away when that happens to me, because it's not like I walk in there thinking I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to someone, I'm going to talk to their grandmother. It just happens, and I'm open to it. And the more I'm open to it, the more I believe that I have confidence in what I'm doing, which this group IGT has taught me is about confidence and just speaking out, connecting, not being ashamed or afraid or shy. And if it seems crazy and wrong and whatever, that's part of the trip. You know, you go with it. And often I thought that's going to happen to me a lot. I'm going to say something, it's going to be completely bogus, it's going to be whatever. That has rarely happened, and even when I thought maybe it did, I found out later in most of those cases that someone who was shy and didn't speak up, they were being connected to, and they just didn't tell me until later, and that's okay too.
Yep.
But yeah, let's see what we can do. It's been wonderful. You've helped me. The piece is good. I'm glad you said to do this. It's awesome. Good.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us today and sharing your questions. We look forward to seeing you again later.
All right.
Have a great day.
Have a good one. Be safe. Wear your mask.
Yes, thanks.